Hello, everybody, and welcome back to This Week in Solar. I'm your host, Aaron Nichols, the Research and Policy Specialist here at Exact Solar in Newtown, Pennsylvania. And as part of our short interview series that we're doing with veterans of the clean energy industry, today we have brought on Joe Tassone. Joe, will you introduce yourself, talk a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, Aaron, thank you very much. I'm very honored to be on your cast here. Especially, you are an influencer in our industry and doing great things. So thank you. I am one of the founders of Oncore Origination. We started the company. I originally started back in 17 and rebranded back in 2022. I have two partners, Ryan and Corey, and we found a niche in the industry for clean energy renewables to actually go out and find land, find projects for solar and battery storage, and now we're doing a lot of EV all around the country. And we don't consider ourselves landmen. We're not full-scale developers, but all of the partners and even most of the management all have an extensive development background. And we found in this industry, and I don't know how else to say this without trying to come across condescending, but the renewable industry, I come from a background, and my partner Corey does too, working in wireless telecom since the mid 90s, where we probably have done 5,000 projects, very intense, hyper intense environments, very short time frames, a lot of pressure, been through multiple litigations. So we really learned the development game and how to process and get projects done in a timely manner, and really understanding land very adequately. So this business, I believe, doesn't do a great job in doing that overall. I mean, there's a lot of developers out there and they're all good people, but it's so we found that we could go out and put our skill set and our tools together and really go out and find good projects, working with IPPs, working developers. For many years, we had one client. Now we have about 15 to 20 clients in almost 20 states, doing everything from utility scale battery storage to solar and DG, and
Yeah.
we're based in I'm in upstate New York, so but we do it a little bit more. We offer a much more higher value of getting good projects, because, and I'll just end by saying this is, and I've written, as you know, I write articles that we're in the yes, we're really in the real estate business. But at the end of the day, no matter what policies happen, equipment, technology, finance, that's all the oxygen you need in order to have a business. But if you can't go out and actually get good land or rooftops, I consider it all land, and have the owner sign on the line that's dotted and build that core relationship with the stakeholders, there's nothing that could happen. And
Right.
having that understanding, be able to do, last year, now a couple plugs and brags, last 6 months, first 6 months of this year, we originated over a gigawatt of projects. And these aren't brag-a-wise, these are legitimate landowner signed contracts, fully vetted projects with 50 data points approved by our customers. Not all of those will, move forward. There'll be attrition because of interconnection and other,
Yeah.
as the project tail gets involved in due diligence. So that's
So
that's what
for
we
anyone
do.
who's listening, my career in solar thus far has been involved in what's called behind the meter, where
Mhm.
you have a owner of a business or an owner of a home who owns the solar energy system. And what Joe does is originate land for projects that are called utility scale. And forgive me if I'm wrong there, but that's
Yeah,
huge projects that are
or on
owned by a utility. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
or DG. Most of it's probably on the DG side of
And
on
DG stands for distributed
yeah,
generation for anyone.
yeah,
Yeah.
under usually, you think about your 5 megawatt AC community solar project, 5 megawatt, 20-hour battery site. That's probably 60-70% of our business is DG. But the
Yeah.
utility DG, even doing B, it's all the same. It's all the same concept. You have to go out and find the good projects, work with. We're not interconnection experts. We're not policy experts. We know enough to do our job, but it's really working with our customers and getting, land control and site control, and really helping throughout the process of development in terms of a relationship builder. We do some behind the meter
Yeah.
also, but it's all the same conceptually. It's kind of the same foundation.
And so, how are you expecting the repeal of the Inflation Reduction Act to affect what you do at Oncore Origination?
Obviously, it's not a feel good at the end of the day. Can't sit here, to be honest, and be saying, "Oh, that's a good thing," right? It's disruptive. A couple of our customers have more on the solar side have maybe paused or pivoted more into battery. There's still a couple shoes to drop, as you know, with what comes out with the safe harboring rules, which experts believe it's not going to be too terrible. But we'll know when this airs if how good or bad it is. But I believe, yeah, I think from my, asking the question earlier, in my company, we're doing fine. We're actually getting, new customers every week and expanding. We're actually in a hiring mode right now because we really believe in this business. And I went through, not to minimize what this industry is going through, because I know people are losing jobs and companies may go under, and it stinks. It definitely does. But I've been through this after 9/11 in telecom, where I've seen public companies go away and literally stop building. The whole industry stopped building for like 2 years.
Right.
So it was very painful. I was with a company that laid off half of the company. It's still a very strong business, and we have to adapt. I mean, the 30% now, I don't agree with anything the administration is doing. I think it's punitive, it's vindictive, but you can't run a business forever at 30%. It's just disruptive the way it's happening, and I think most of the industry would acknowledge that. Hey, if it was a step down, no one likes giving back money, but let's be real. I mean, prices have gotten inflated, costs have gone up. People just get comfortable with that. It's a very model-driven business. So short term, it's going to be more painful, but long term, you get the government out of it. And now we're running this as, hey, we have to be profitable, and
Right.
couple that with the increase in energy exponentially. I mean, even in New York, I was
Yeah.
looking at back some old models and just seeing a 3 to 4 cent differential in 3 or 4 years, on the back end. So, and I mean, a kilowatt per hour charges. So I very strong business. The toothpaste is out of the tube, to use a cliche. It's too big to fail. We can't compete without having renewables. So very bullish on the business.
Yeah.
It's a little bit scary right now because it's the uncertainty, and it's not just in our industry. It's
Yeah.
just poor leadership we have, and so a positive, very bullish outlook, and with just kind of being judicious in the short term on managing some of this. But our customers, yeah, I just was with a company the other day. I'll remain nameless, but they just I know two companies since the Big Beautiful Bill who have secured. One company $50 million in development capital, another company $300 million of development capital, and this is in the midst of all this chaos.
Amazing. That's so good to hear. Yeah, I think I've heard two hopeful tidbits that I really like. There was a woman named Liz Robinson I interviewed for this show who is basically like Pennsylvania solar royalty. And she calls this the death throes of a dying industry, what we're seeing from fossil fuel funding this administration and trying to shut down any kind of renewables. And someone else at a conference I was at this week just said that the level of antagonism that we're facing also shows the level of threat we represent to an established industry.
Mhm.
No, I thought
No,
that.
that's very good. I haven't heard that before, but that, of course, and it's the antagonism is a word, and it's one thing if we were not to get, we could spend a whole hour just on on politics, trying to be pragmatic and middle of the road. It's not. It's one thing if we had a balanced budget and everyone took a haircut and it was like, okay, everyone's got to give a little bit at the office. But no, this is like, let's, even after the last minute amendment, which, took away the construction, you had to have the site built. You remember that disaster, and then you have the Chip Roys of the world who
Yeah,
just went bonkers. And it's, come on, guys, like we know no energy is perfect, no energy is perfectly clean. There's certain intermittency, whatever you want to, whatever. We're not going to go into the guts of that. But there's a reason why. I mean, the CEO of NextEra came out and said, and Microsoft, okay, we need renewables. We need
Hmm.
this. We can't do it without it because the time frames it takes right now to get gas turbines and even the gas infrastructure is not there, and that's fine. Let's do it all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think coal is a reality for environmental reasons and a million reasons, but we know where it's coming from. Administrations change, policies change. One of the things that just kind of keeps me motivated is you see states now that are coming out. I mean, the governor of Nevada just petitioned or spoke to the Secretary of Interior. He goes, "You got to lighten up here. We got projects here. We have people. This is jobs. This isn't
Yeah.
just." You're not just getting back at Joe Biden and some, people way on the left. This is affecting the JP Morgans of the world and construction companies, and it's a trickle down effect, and it's not
Yeah.
going away.
Yeah.
And this industry has been, talking to people who've been in it for 20 years, and they just like, yeah, I've been there, done that. But yes, it is
Yeah.
disruptive, and you can't dismiss it.
Yeah, there's a framework I really like that I heard that a couple veterans of this industry have agreed with, and this is, something that people from a lot of different social movements have quoted. But the quote is, first they ignore you, then they make fun of you, then they fight you, then you win. And I think
Hmm.
we're firmly in step three of that process. And as someone who has been in this industry for a long time, I think I'm really interested in how young people like me coming in can have the stamina that we need to just bash our heads against this rock, because there's so many veterans that I've met who have fought for this over such a long period of time. And I've been so amazed by how they've been able to, like, just continuously believe that this needs to happen and fight for it. But then on the other side, like, there's so many young people like me who came into this industry at a very rosy time. I came in 2023, so a year after the IRA. Everybody's just kind of figuring out still how to use the new incentives. And then we had that boom. And I'm curious, as someone who's been in it for so long, how does a young person who's just coming into this industry, like, how do we make sure that we have the fight and the stubbornness that we need and the understanding that that's what this is?
Yeah, no, it's I have I guess the luxury of coming from another industry. I've been in this 9 years now, and it seems like it goes by very fast. I would say number one, you just have to focus day by day. It's very easy. Fear is a double-edged sword, right? It keeps you motivated, keeps you going, but also could paralyze you. So number one, I would say just keep going and being persistent. A great quote I like by Winston Churchill is, when you're going through hell, keep on going. Not to
Mm.
say this is
It's an
hell
old
by
country
any
song too.
yeah, any stretch of the imagination, but
Yeah.
we still have it good. We're still in a good business, and it's a dynamic business. So you just got to keep positive. It's hard some days. I mean, every day I mean, I say LinkedIn's just depressing some days where you get on there and everyone's just like, oh, the EPA just did this, and the, president did that, and they just cut this. And, you got to, I mean, I know it's like we're just like we're walking into this dystopian society here where you don't know what's going on, but there's still laws, there's still policy, and we still are users of electricity, and people, there's only so much you could BS people, and the real stakeholders know, the next thing that's going to come when you start to see utility prices go through the roof, which is going to happen. It's already
Yeah.
happening. What's going to be the rhetoric from oh, it's because of solar and wind, but that's only going to last. People are going to say, well, wait a second, that wasn't like that a year ago. What happened in the last year that now all of a sudden you're cutting all these projects, you don't have the supply, and now demand's going up? That's just economics 101. So that's
Right.
going to, people are, it's still, we're not through with this. But then there's going to be pressure on state levels. We're saying, hey, we're not meeting our goals now. You're messing up. What people in the state are much more localized. It's all
Yeah.
about politics and jobs. So number
And
two,
just
I would
not
say,
to, there's one thing I want to hammer on too that I think is really important. I heard this at a conference that I was at this week. One of the speakers said, 70% of the locked in carbon reduction that has happened since the turn of the century has come as a direct result of state and local policy, which means that as dramatic as the news is at the federal
Mhm.
level and those policies, it is a minority of what is happening to clean energy, and we still have more power locally. Federal policy makes great news, but we have power in our communities.
Oh, 100%. I mean, just look at where, like I'm in New York as case in point. I mean, New York has always had good incentives and good programs, and there's going to be adjustments because now states have their goals, and not just from an environmental standpoint, just legitimately we need energy, and it's going to go. I mean, I remember when the ITC first came out, you started to see states now like, oh, we're going to give a 10-cent incentive. Now it's 5 cents. Say, no, hey, you're getting some money over here. It should go the other way. And I think you're going to start to see more states now embracing some of the bills that barely passed this year and died on the vine, like in Iowa and Ohio, and Montana was one I was following. I think you're going to start to see some of those coming around because it is good. I mean, if you look at China and you look at some of this other, mainly China, but some of these other countries and how they're building solar and battery like 6 times what we're doing in I think 1 month, and they don't have. I mean, yeah, they don't want to be relying on fossil fuels, but they don't have an environmental mandate, right? Yes, they don't have a certain regulations. They could just do it, but still they're doing it. They could
Yeah.
build coal plants and they're like America was in 1900, right? They could do whatever they want pretty much. So that's who we're competing against, and cooler heads will hopefully prevail. And there's only so much that. But we just got to be smart. I mean, going
Yeah.
back to your original question, I would just say just be a sponge and learn as much as you can about every aspect of the business, and that's really the biggest thing is don't just if you're in finance, learn about what goes into getting a site built. If you're in development, learn more about finance. The more you can learn, the more you understand the bigger picture, the more apt you're going to be and agile you're going to be in the industry, and it's exciting. I mean, those would be my two pieces of advice: persistence and be a sponge and learn as much as you can. And my biggest thing, or my biggest belief, and this is where I've seen it happen in my former career, is when there's chaos, when there's disruption, when there's fear, you can't stop developing.
Right.
The can't. I mean, everyone's putting. Now everyone's running around looking at. There's opportunity in all this, and the good
Yeah.
companies will figure out. You can't just say, okay, we're not getting site control. It's really starts at site control. You have to get
Yeah.
land, you have to get assets in the pipeline, and that takes years. I mean,
Yeah.
I've literally just received a compensation from a project that I started in Massachusetts
Yeah.
in February of 2018. Okay,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
now that's
Yeah.
an anomaly, right? If
Totally.
someone's watching this, it doesn't usually take for a DG battery, project, a battery solar project, but that's 7 years. If you think
Right.
about the amount of machinations that have occurred
Yeah.
statewide and federally in the last 7 years, I mean, you've had
Everything that had to be
three presidents,
continuously
Trump,
updated.
Biden, Trump, right? You had
Yeah.
two iterations of a SMART program. When I
Yeah.
started this, there wasn't even a SMART program. You had all sorts of, it's insane, but
Yeah.
they stuck to their knitting. The reason for the delay was that you got caught up in this utility
Totally.
quagmire and studies, what have you. But if
Yeah.
you got to start, and it's not, you just got to, you can't stop. I mean, you could
So
be,
for anyone who's new, willingness to learn and stubbornness are going
yeah,
to
you
be
got to
huge.
be,
And yeah.
I will say too, be smart and judicious with
Yeah.
your resources.
Yeah.
Development is risky. I mean, you could either, it's like Goldilocks, right? It's too hot, it's too cold, it's perfect. You don't want to go out there and just spend money frivolously and
Yeah.
take flyers in all different markets, and you're going to blow your $50 million of dev budget and get nothing. You also
No.
don't want to be super conservative where all of a sudden you don't lock up, you don't have any positions or nothing in a
Yeah.
queue and everyone's passing you. You just got to be smart. Have a
Yeah.
plan, take some risk. Don't be afraid because the companies that I've seen strike oil and gold
Yeah.
in 2002 and 3 and 4 in the telecom sector were the development tower asset owners, the companies that figured out a way to keep developing when no one else was. And then, yeah,
Right.
there were some lean times, but it's when things get, there's just, you got to do it. It's not stopping.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in the business, then get out of the business, right? Jack Welch, the
Yeah.
former CEO of
Yeah.
GE, always used to say, would you, if you knew nothing, if you just got into this business now, would you get into it?
Yeah.
And if you say no, then what are you going to do about it? Fix, break,
Right.
sell the thing.
Yeah.
So if you don't
That's
believe in this
great.
business, then leave. If you don't
Right.
think you can be successful, and everyone's going, okay, what are we going to do? Fiat and China and batteries. Hey, we have 7 years to figure this out. If
Yeah.
we can't figure out how to get local supply or from other countries, and it's not easy. It's going to be painful. There's going to be projects that are going to die, but we have time here.
Yeah.
Necessity is the mother of invention. Our hands were tied with China in 2020. Okay, during COVID, I remember I had
Yeah.
a project solar panels on a ship. They held us hostage. You had to sign all these tariff agreements. I mean, it was crazy. What are we doing? 5 years later, we're still leveraged by China. Okay,
Right.
we haven't learned why, because it was easy.
Yeah.
It was easy to get those
Yeah.
panels from China and cheaper.
Yeah. And
So,
this is the kind of stuff I think people need to hear. I mean, it goes on, you figure it out, you move forward, and it's so soothing for me to talk to veterans of the industry because everything can be fatalistic, and for news, they need to grab attention in the moment, so they need to tell you why it's the worst thing ever. Unfortunately, I love talking to veterans. I wish I could just keep talking all day, but I have to bring it home. And I've been asking everyone a fun moonshot question at the end of each episode. And it goes back to my grandma's 80th birthday party that I got to speak at in June. And when I was writing a LinkedIn post about it, I realized that my grandma was born into a world where renewable energy did not exist. And she was born 10 years after the Rural Electrification Act. Her city had just gotten electricity. Windmills maybe pumped water, didn't generate electricity yet. Solar PV wasn't invented until 1954. So that insane rate of change in renewable energy has all happened within her lifetime. And just as a fun moonshot question, don't worry, no one will hold us to it. We'll both be gone. What does clean energy look like in 80 years, just as a prediction?
wow, that's a loaded question. I mean, just like you said, it's a moonshot. I think you're going to have, I think technology just always gets smaller. So I think you're going to see a lot more microgrids, like literally people independently living in subdivisions with like total centers that are battery, solar, maybe something we don't even know that's invented anymore. I could see that because it's there now. It's just too expensive and cumbersome. So I think you can start to
Yeah.
see a lot more in 80 years. I think just like we did, if someone in 1955, they couldn't conceive that you're out camping with a Starlink, right? I mean, everything,
Totally.
you were running wires to everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I have gas lines coming to my house and electrical wires coming to my house. I think we're going to start to eventually figure out peering off that where I don't want to be hooked up to this infrastructure or it's just not going to be available, I
Right.
mean, so that I just foresee like big communities just, the old, I think gas running to people's houses are going to be like telephone lines running to people's houses. Some people still might have it. I foresee that it's going to be more, we're going to be independently, ungrid tied, if that's a word.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully we can just paint it on wherever we want.
Yes, it could be. I mean, look, talk to older veterans, and 50-watt solar panels, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Joe, thank you so much today for coming on. Where can you be found if people want to find you?
yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Well, it's Joe Tassone Jr. on LinkedIn. Oncore OncoreOrig.com. We have a pretty good webpage. You can find us on LinkedIn, easiest way. But thank you so much, Aaron. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure speaking to you, and hope to see you soon. And keep up the good work, man.
Thank you, Joe. You too. And for everyone listening, that's been This Week in Solar.
Have a great